Trisha,
really
this
messed up
mindset that the
decision.
crew probably didn't want some kind of a departmental inquiry which goes on and on. Therefore, the first instinct is just to try and settle the matter and get on with life. You obviously don't like what happened. It's not as the crew enjoyed this, but you don't want this to go on, and therefore you try and just deal with the matter as best as possible.
See, Rahul, when they swept this under the carpet, you had another incident on the Paris-Delhi flight.
Correct? I agree.
So unless you take firm action, now, as far as I'm concerned, I know a lot of pilots may disagree with what I'm saying, but the captain walking off without taking action is very cowardly. And I wouldn't want to fly or send my family on a flight with a captain like that. And this is something Air India has to seriously look at. You know, what kind of quality of captains they have if they just, you know, don't take action on a passenger safety.
Udit Agarwal, I saw some unruly scenes myself on a flight recently, and the captain didn't come out, didn't want to be seen in the public, and not because he didn't care, but because he probably was concerned that people would start taking videos of him, and then that would be on social media, and what clearly wasn't his fault would then become his headache. And therefore, he tried to resolve the matter sitting in his cabin, sitting in his cockpit without coming out. Does that at all justify or explain what the captain did, or do you think the captain is as much to blame as the cabin crew for this airline?
So the way I look at it, the captain or the person in command is ultimately responsible for every happening on the aircraft. And at this point of time, sitting in the cockpit or not taking relevant measures is maybe not the right approach to take. Apart from that, even if the captain does not want videos or any other social media to be taken about him, he could definitely have still, in these two cases, helped the victims of the situation, could have advised the crew to take appropriate action such that the trauma which they have gone through is minimized to some extent and they're able to feel a little more comfortable. So in this case, I don't think the captain took the right approach. And in a larger perspective, since he's the pilot on command, he definitely has to take responsibility, own up.
Captain Ranganathan, what action should specifically be taken against the cabin crew, against the captain, against the management for not doing the right thing in this instance? You've got a new CEO in charge. He's an expat. Obviously, I don't know how much can be expected from him, but he's running the airline, and therefore you'd expect them to do the right and honorable thing.
Let me put it this way, the expat is from Singapore, and I worked there, and on my flight I had a Caucasian passenger misbehaving with the cabin crew. I radioed ahead and he was arrested, and I think he spent 1 month in Changi prison. Now that's the kind of action you need, you know, and here I think it's a failure of the CRM. The cabin crew didn't know what they have to do, and all that they were worried about is they can't upgrade the lady, which is wrong because this is not a normal situation. And you don't forget that there were 2 other captains, and this is a 14-hour flight, and this incident has happened within the first 4 hours. How did the cabin crew serve so much liquor to the guy so that he's totally drunk and misbehaves like this?
No, but we don't know whether he was served all the alcohol while he was on board or some of it he consumed in the lounge before coming into the flight.
What about the other passengers? This is the Indian attitude. There were other passengers on board. This lady, from what I saw in her letter, she was in seat 9A. Now, there are other passengers there. Why didn't any of them come to her rescue and intervene? You see, here, people don't want to get involved in any controversy. They just avoid. I mean, everyone carries a cell phone with them. If I had been there, I would have filmed that asshole. Sorry to use that word, but that's what I think of him, you know, and humiliated the guy. And this is not the way an airline behaves.
No, but what we're seeing instead, Trisha, is for a long time, they didn't even make the passenger's name public trying to protect his identity. If he's behaved in this obnoxious fashion, surely Shekhar should be named and shamed.
Oh, most definitely. And I just want to say, respectfully, I want to disagree with what, not the earlier panelists, but someone before made it a class issue and said, oh, these are perhaps first-time people who've never been in an aircraft before. I think people, regardless of their socio-economic strata, especially from the lower middle class, know how to behave. They know how to live in
This
community
guy is
style
sitting in
settings.
business class. I don't know what
And
anyone is talking about. He's
exactly my
definitely
point.
not lower middle class if he's flying from Delhi to New York on a
That's
business
what I
class
mean.
flight.
That's what I mean. We are quick to dismiss people as, oh, this is uneducated behavior. On the contrary, this is a person who has a high-profile job in a multinational company of a global agency and is flying business class. So what it shows, if anything, is a case of entitlement. And again, I go back to the person, however drunk he was, still chose to pee on a female passenger, right? You don't go pee on someone your size, of your gender, who you think could possibly sock you or hit you back. So going back to everything that others have said, how do you reassure passengers to feel safe mid-air? I think here is where we need to see severe commitment and steps being taken that are public in nature. A 30-day ban is really a further insult in the face of the passenger who's been subject to this trauma. Further saying, putting the blame on the passenger. When a crime is committed, it doesn't matter if the survivor of the victim chooses to pursue it or not. A complaint must be filed, and in this case, it should have been an FIR filed from the very beginning. So here, I think, one, we should see punitive action that is publicly stated as to what has taken. Second, what are the sensitization methods that they're going to ensure that they imply? And this should all be public in nature, so passengers can feel safe.